Yeah, we're gonna do a cool video today. I have Donald Trump's book that he published right before his first presidency. This book is called Great Again, and yeah, it was originally called Crippled America, which I think is a little bit funny. A little bit funny, and yeah, Donald Trump wrote this book. As sort of an introduction to MAGA. It has a foreword by Donald Trump as well. And so, yeah, I wanted to kind of walk through this text, walk through this book, and see what did Donald Trump have to say? What are the things he's saying about? And yeah, I'm just going to set up a poll. I went ahead and turned all of the all of the chats on. So as if you come in, you want to talk about politics, want to talk about something else, it's all cool. But yeah, I'm going to set up a poll real quick, and then I've got this book. We'll kind of go through the foreword, whatever it is. And yeah, it's good to see everyone. Let me write something kind of stupid here. Make the like button great again. Yeah. I don't know what the point of all these are, but cool. Hey, Shakespeare, good to see you. No, Helgrad Mueller. No, I haven't seen that one. Is he's a rugby player, or is he an author, or different Helgrad Mueller, Son of Man the Christ? I don't know. I was in predictive history the other day, and what's his name? Professor Zhang was talking about like that sort of Christian messianic calling and stuff like that. Author. Yeah, no, I got it here. I'm gonna I will get him. I'll you know, whatever. You're from Sabrina. I'm from the US. I'm from the United States. Yeah, from the US. But yeah, it's interesting. Donald Trump in this book, he talks about places all over the world. You're from Indonesia? Cool. Cool. One of my professors from college was from Indonesia. Yeah, his name was Alex. Very cool guy. Very cool guy. He was he was studying in the US. He was super big pro-capitalism guy. You know, really cool guy and all that stuff. But yeah, you know, we'll get started on this book a little bit. It's very funny because the foreword is by Donald Trump. Usually these types of political books, it's not like a huge deal, but you know, it's also true that sometimes you'll have, who knows, maybe a former president, or you would have another politician write your foreword, write your intro, and they would say, yeah, you know, Donald Trump really cares about making America great again, and here's why it sort of matters. Here's how you read the book. Here's how Donald Trump thinks about this stuff, and I sign off on it. But yeah, because Donald Trump wrote the foreword, this book was published in 2015, by the way. 2015, originally called Crippled America. So I do want to start with the foreword, and we'll talk about some stuff. And yeah. But yeah, you know, who knows? It's probably not entirely like crazy relevant because it's, you know, whatever year it is now. But you know, it's one of them things. I gotta send out a Discord message. By the way, I got some new art and stuff. I don't know if you guys like that kind of stuff, but this is just some old stuff I had in boxes. I'm a very boring person, so I hadn't set up my room. So I have some of my current readings. Nothing really that fancy, but I will be shortly doing a debate, and so I took out some old behavioral econ books, just Daniel Kahneman, just sort of between like philosophy and self-help and science. I've got a book by an NYU law professor, I believe, Ronald Dworkin, called Justice for Hedgehogs. And yeah, a couple readers, novels, stuff like that. So I probably have to get a new library card. I'll show you guys this too. This was, whoops. I'm banging on a bunch of crap, but I don't have a ton of space here, but this is one of the ones. I took an art class once and painted a guitar. You can see I painted a guitar and I put what looks like almost like a communist whiskey up here. It was supposed to be a bottle of whiskey. But yeah, this was a painting I did some sort of long time ago, a little bit. But yeah, there wasn't really a ton of room. I've got a tiny little corner on my desk. So we ended up with Jordan, and we ended up with the Bluegrass Festival poster, a little Eric Clapton action. Rabbity Rab Rab. Yeah, was I nervous? Yeah, my first lives, none of them were very good. I'm still working to hopefully create an entertaining format, be able to talk to folks. If we plan something, like I put in the title, we're going to read a little bit of Donald Trump's book, kind of talk about the politics, what different people might say about it. So, I love talking to people. That's like the whole point of like doing mobile lives versus doing a StreamYard or something, is I get to talk to people. I get to talk to people about what they want to talk about. And so, yeah, I was a little nervous before I did a live. I would recommend just do it. Don't expect it to be perfect. And this is like really pessimistic, but still good advice, is like, if you do a video or something on YouTube, just look at it afterwards, right? Even if it sucks, even if you don't like it, just look at what you did, give it a short break, and then get right back to it. If you feel like you're called to social media or something. And yeah, Rabbity Rab Rab. I wouldn't use bacon to cause offense to Muslims. I don't know if I already said that. That's pretty disrespectful. But yeah, your food, your choice, I suppose. I don't think there's a law against it. And so, yeah, if you want to use your language and food like that, in the United States, you are allowed, even though maybe you shouldn't. Can you paint my mother? She's deceased. I'm sorry to hear that, Lucky Wizard. No, I'm not into necrophiliac paintings, but yeah. No, I like pointillism and stuff like that is cool. Starry Night, all that kind of stuff. It's all good. Ozzy Osbourne. Would you ever do a face paint of Donald Trump? Totally. Yeah, carnival or something. No, not really. Yeah, the Banksy style and Donald Trump art. It's all cool. Hey, Cash Money, Velo, Jeff Epstein. Hi. I did my bun crunches. Cool. I don't know what that is exactly, Vic, but good to see you. And Tamara Fletcher, I think you meant a picture when she was alive. Oh, that would make sense. That would be the correct syntax of doing that. Thinking Fast and Slow is great. Not read any of the behavioral economics. What would you say were other important books I should look into? Yeah, I don't know. Dan O'Reilly is another one who's been a very popular writer, very concise. He's just to kind of create that sort of that iceberg, and see the top 10% above the surface of behavioral economics. I would look up Dan O'Reilly. I'll throw this in chat. Yeah, and feel free to go do that now or later. But yeah, and there's TED Talks and stuff like that too that are a little more brief. You might not need to know about the sort of survey design and all this other stuff. But behavioral economics is a very intuitive thesis in my view. Dan O'Reilly. I might be spelling this wrong, but this is generally the name that I would suggest for behavioral economics. Yeah, and so System 1 and System 2 thinking, that's kind of the joke of the book, because it's kind of like a self-help style philosophy economics book. Daniel Kahneman was a neuroscientist, and this behavioral sort of neuroscience is economics in some sense, and so that's one of the funny things is if you're looking at what we say about the world, System 1 and System 2 thinking are still talking about the same basic mechanism, more or less. maybe we describe it differently in life and in society, but really there's not all that much. Cool. So the book, guys, great again. How to Fix Our Crippled America by Donald Trump, with a foreword by the author Donald Trump. And yeah, so let's see what he has to say. So he starts with a quote that says, "I will study and prepare, and perhaps my chance will come." Abraham Lincoln, 16th President of the United States. Yeah, you're very welcome, Tom. I've always liked reading the quotes of great men and women in history, and this one by Abraham Lincoln has resonated with me since I was in school. I am someone who, like you, will be prepared, and my work as a developer has required that I do a lot of groundwork before embarking on any venture. There is no room for guesswork when it comes to construction. The work has to be solid from the get-go. In short, as a builder, I have to be prepared. Cool. So I don't know if that means anything to you. Iran is giving you a ticket. Cool. Yeah, cheers to Iran. Any of my Iranian friends in the audience, it is good to see you. Good to see you, of course. Cool. I've recently experienced an arduous campaign, and the fact that I've won the election for the president of the United States is not a great surprise to me. Believe me, I never took this outcome for granted, but I've been preparing this for many years. I've always been a patriot. My love for this country has been an impetus for achievement since my boyhood. My dedication runs deep, and my focus has never once wavered. I was ready. I was prepared. Yeah, so I don't know if you guys think this is like telling us anything about Donald Trump. He's basically said so far, look, before I was president, I was this builder. I was preparing for ventures, and I laid the groundwork. I laid the groundwork before I got into any venture. So he's maybe not telling us exactly where he came from or what sort of ideas he finds purposeful or amenable. And yeah, that sounds like a lot of people, right? You can sell, that's like, maybe this is a great guy to get a coffee with, a beer with, just reading this so far, yeah, nice to meet you, Mr. President, but do you sell socks? Are you a restaurateur? That would be pretty cool. What is the meaning of ASS? Yeah, it's definitely an aspect of the body and all this stuff. Rest in peace, Ozzy Osbourne. Yeah. Black Sabbath. I saw Zach Wilde. I think he did Black Sabbath for a little bit, if I'm not mistaken. I saw him at Ozfest one year, so that's sad to hear if that's real. I didn't see the news yet, so I won't say that much, but yeah, Ozzy was a legend. War Pigs was an awesome song. Yeah, lots of cool stuff. Sachidhanand Nath Tripathi. Hey, I'm from India. We here think that Donald Trump in his second term is a clown who is all over the place and acts like an idiot. Your thoughts on Trump foreign policy? Yeah. We can actually, I've read a little bit of this, not that much, but we can jump into the first chapter. We don't have to read this foreword because it seems like I'll just say that. Yeah, it's really nice in the foreword. I'm not a MAGA guy, but Donald Trump introduces himself, tells you where his psychology is kind of coming from. And, you could be anyone, Don. You could be anyone. Yeah. Did you play hockey? I played roller hockey for a couple years. Yeah. I don't know. Maybe I wasn't tough enough. It was also really expensive. I remember that hockey requires new equipment like almost every year. Even buying used equipment and stuff is really expensive. So yeah, I played roller hockey. I had rollerblades and stuff like that. Hey, RJ, what's up? The TDS is real. So RJ Roberts says the TDS is real. Hundreds of people streaming propaganda. FU, no life, grifters. Yeah, thanks, RJ. Yeah, if you guys want to donate, you can find the Patreon link. It's not in the description, right? There's not a donation link anywhere on my channel. So, I don't know if I'm a grifter. I don't know if you just wanted to say something rude and nasty, but generally the rule here, folks, is, yeah, this type of negativity I think when a couple people want to talk about either foreign policy with MAGA and stuff like this, which try to jump into, but it's distracting. Nah, calling you out. All right. Calling me out for what? Hey, I'm going to tell you what. I'm going to delete those last two messages, and you can take a minute, RJ, and we're not going to make the focus on you. We're going to go back to the book. So join the stream. Join the stream, my friend. Yes, I played. You look like you know your way around the rink. Yeah, I had some, not like anything special, but I did play some sports as a kid. I had that sort of sense of going around and, whether it was football, soccer, like I wasn't like an athletic genius or anything, but I could know the field and stuff like that, wild stuff. Hey, Chris, what's up? Nice beard. Thank you. I appreciate you. So this is more bluster. I think we have to, for the question, our friend from, I think, India said, we think Donald Trump's a clown. So let's skip to the first chapter. We're skipping the preface and the foreword. And this is called Winning Again. And Donald Trump does start this book with foreign policy. So it's a great question. Hey, thanks. Yeah, if anyone wants to like the stream before we get into this and whatever, yeah, you can tap, if you're on a smartphone, you tap the top of the thing, hit the thumbs up button. I appreciate you. Lord, I want to sit on your face. Cool. Yeah. Hey, appreciate that, Lord. Yeah, we're going to talk Donald Trump foreign policy in his own words from Make America Great Again. So appreciate you. And yeah. Yeah, thanks, Mr. Russian 123. Cool username. I like it a lot. Cool. Hey, thanks, Abe. Good to see you, my friend. Abe Dinkus has a great YouTube channel as well. But okay, so winning again. America needs to start winning again. Nobody likes a loser and nobody likes to be bullied. Yet here we stand today, the greatest superpower on earth, and everyone is eating our lunch. That's not winning. We have a president who tries to get tough and draw a line in the sand, but when that line gets crossed, there are no repercussions. And when we try to negotiate with foreign countries, we don't stand up. We don't threaten to walk away. And more important, we don't walk away. We make concessions after concession. That's not winning. So this is interesting. My thoughts, so I'll try not to be too screamy and preachy, but yeah, when I first read this, nobody likes a loser and nobody likes to be bullied. Just knowing who we are in the United States and that nothing changes the fact that you have the most powerful military on earth. India is also a nuclear triad. I believe, if I'm remembering correctly, India also has nuclear subs, nuclear planes, ICBMs. So you're also very powerful. But yeah, if you're going to talk about foreign policy and say nobody likes to be bullied, I don't believe that a victim mentality is the way you start a competitive argument. That's my own opinion. If you disagree, let me know. If you're a big Trump supporter, if it resonates with you when Donald Trump says nobody likes to be bullied, let me know. Yet here we are today, the greatest superpower on earth, and everyone is eating our lunch. That's not winning. Yeah, and so it would be cool. Oh, it just started raining, and I'm in Arizona, so that's pretty cool. Doesn't rain that often. I'm happy to be on stream with you guys, but boy, I'd tell you, if it was raining right now in the middle of summer, I'd be outside. Yeah, and so California, if somebody's talking about nobody eats your lunch, that's like California is a great state to sort of understand that. California. California's got a lot of shipping ports. You have a lot of big cities like Los Angeles, San Diego, all pretty big places, San Francisco. So you have tech industries, you've got logistics and supply chain stuff going everywhere. Very mineral rich country. Also a lot of demands for energy, a lot of demands for products to buy and sell. So really expensive proposition, California, like a lot of other places, right? So if you're looking at problems like you're saying consumption is a big problem, or energy is a big problem, or supply chain competition, big time problem, guys, big time problems. Sorry, let me move this a little closer, but yeah, just so you guys can see each Liver King beard hair a little more clearly. California. Yeah, California. um, and Magic, I would encourage you, just because we're reading Donald Trump's a book that he wrote, he wanted people to actually read the book, right? So, and yeah, you should develop your own ideas. So if everybody's eating California's lunch, it means they don't have enough energy. It means no one wants to ship things through California. It means innovation isn't happening there. And maybe people that do business with California in the United States, to use Donald Trump's own sort of language, like, okay, so yeah, California innovates for us. They use energy so they can buy our products and come visit, come travel. So they can work and create jobs, and just like everyone else, work and create jobs. And he said, everyone's eating our lunch. That's not winning. To me, that is a little vague. Hey, a Roval tour, it's not really a business. Great question. I think great question. Am I Jewish? I'm not. Yeah, I'm not, answering and whatever. But yeah. Pollution might be a issue in California and Los Angeles. Yeah, lots of places. Pollution definitely winning. Pollution's not a winning idea for sure. Yeah. So about foreign policy, if you guys can imagine, there is this sort of iceberg of foreign policy. Maybe it's like this book. You can see the 10% of it above the surface. Donald Trump as president is saying, let me show you this, and let me show you the other 90% as well, or something of what we can talk about. And Donald Trump is saying that, well, the way we'll talk about this so far is everyone's eating our lunch, and you have to win. It's competitive. It's competition. This is Donald Trump's book, Suvik Kundu. It's called Great Again. It was originally called Crippled America, and it's by Donald Trump. Yeah, and so he's basically saying that America's foreign policy should be creating firm boundaries and then creating punishment when this happens. Like, horrible time, right? Horrible time. And yeah. So one of the reasons this is sort of wrong, we're not going to stay too technical. If you guys want to ask questions, I'll try and answer them. Your video is reversed. Oh, that's funny, Nora. Yeah, you've read the book Art of the Deal by Donald Trump. Trump is covering an elite PDF file ring, says Jerry Hart. Cool. Yeah, I don't know if that's true. And Trump walked in North Korea. That was amazing. Yeah, we can talk about that stuff a little bit if you guys have questions about like North Korea. But yeah, about the iceberg analogy, and so here's like big brain stuff. This is someone like Andrew Bustamante on YouTube. Some of the big time political commentators, geopolitical analysts might talk about this. One of the reasons why it is either very clear or complicated to punish other countries is big countries like the US, like Russia, like China, like India. A lot of times you'll look and say, well, what's actually going on? What's going on in not just our direct relations or indirect relations? Is there a problem? Is there conflict or risk coming up? But they might also say, let's also look at how the international community, like the UN or BRICS or the IMF, all of these like big money lending, really powerful organizations that ultimately it's competitive to have some of these sort of loose alliances. So, this is often called neorealism. And when you look at not just the way two nations interact, whether they shake hands or they clash, but you're able to look at on the level of systems, and you're able to develop your own judgment. This is neorealism. This very strict competition, which Donald Trump still doesn't nail, is called realism. And it just says, well, yeah, I'm always going to consider how we work together and how this affects me. That is basically what realism says. You don't like tariffs? Yeah, the reason, so Magic, the reason I don't like tariffs, sorry for some of the and stuff like that, but Yeah, when Donald Trump says there's no repercussions, this is only looking at zero-sum games. This is only looking at pure competition. It's not imagining that there's some actual social substrate that's impacted underneath it the way I see it. You guys can tell me I'm wrong. If Donald Trump is saying, yeah, we're big time diplomats, we have to do business on both sides of things. This is how we consider it. You can tell me that, but Donald Trump telling you guys, don't don't think in all the ways that you can, even if you don't want to, you don't have to know about Kofi Annan or any of the big names in geopolitics, Aung San Suu Kyi. Like, you don't need to know about these inspirational leaders in the international arena that we should consider. You know, Even like South Africa, we're not friends with South Africa very much at all right now. South Africa is not like best friend to the United States. The reason, and so the same thing, the reason this is South Africa is, pushing through with BRICS. They're saying that, we're going to have to come up with South African solutions. And it doesn't really matter if there's these lingering race or social division issues. It doesn't matter if there's really big institutional or sort of foundational questions in society. With BRICS, we feel like we can address those on our own terms, and we can solve those things in our South African way, right? Yeah, why did I bring that up? Yeah, but because we do need to look at like what it's like in a post-apartheid country. We can also look in the United States. It's like, well, what can change in the next 5-10 years with just us? And so I don't see equal sum. I don't see zero sum. I don't see Donald Trump trusting people to say, yeah, there's great Democratic supporters all around the world, as it turns out. We live in a universe which has democratic elements, even in authoritarian governments. We can take a hard line against those authoritarian governments, but you can't at the nation state level ignore that there's shared values almost anywhere you go. So let me know. Eric the Great says over a third of the tree species in Africa wouldn't exist without being processed through an elephant, then fertilized in dung. That's pretty cool. Yeah, I didn't know that. I don't know where the stat comes from. Release Ghislaine Maxwell. Yeah, Jerry, it's I would say they talk big time talk about. I brought up a Maria Farmer article from New York Times the other day. Bernie Sanders actually published a video today on the Epstein files. So I would recommend, if you guys want to check that out. Yeah, Magic says God be with Trump. Whoops. I got my laptop stream I have my Chromebook up. I got totally owned. I got totally pwned, you guys. I got totally pwned. Super bad. Yeah, humans, hominids have been on Africa for about 3 million years. About 3 million years or so, you guys. And yeah. So you guys may not like it. But a lot of these stories about competition and how our brains process things, that's kind of what some of those books are actually about that. But I'm not like super bookish. I'm a very practical guy. I'm a little smart about some things, but not everything. But yeah, you guys might not like it, but yeah, human stories go back at least 3 million years, 450,000 years, using our same sort of who you'd consider a great grandpa or something. But yeah, a lot of time, all the time. P. Fry Dog said Trumpstein triggered the Streisand effect. I don't know what that means, but that sounds hella good. It's the implication, right, folks? If you know Barbara Streisand, the implication is that there's going to be tears and inspiration in the audience at all times, folks. Magic asks, it has, or says, asks, says both. It has future effect to bring more businesses back to the US. It is reversing the Chinese outsourcing right. Yeah, China can afford cheap labor. They can afford a lot of really bad businesses. In the US, it's really damning, right? Because if you might spend your life savings $200,000, $300,000 to start a very small business, right? You might start a business that one day brings in $400,000 to $1 million in revenue per year, maybe. And your first year you might have a 25 or 30% profit margin, if that, after marketing and startup costs and whatever you're renting. And so, when you're asking if attacking China is going to solve the US's economics, maybe not. If you have a better way to address the truth that the US is really good at building big businesses, that might be interesting. If you have a way of, like Kamala Harris talked about, increasing the ability to finance to start small businesses for underprivileged Americans, people with diverse backgrounds, which should have sort of sweetened the pot, gotten some clarity around what makes small businesses successful, in my political opinion. So just to Magic, that's, yeah, you can make the case that Donald Trump is attacking China, but it seems more like what Donald Trump is talking about: eating our lunch. We're not winning. There's no repercussions. We're not punishing anyone. You got to have a line in the sand. I don't see how a lot of stuff is that way. It seems like we could find common ground a lot easier with Ducks Y than any other TDS lefty. Yeah, that's a great point. I'm very open-minded. I appreciate you. If you want to tap the like button, subscribe, I appreciate all of you. We're reading Donald Trump's book. Anyone just joining, great again. And having a discussion, feel free. We're very open, free speech. Do you think being energy independent US was a result of good foreign policy? Yeah, I mean, that goes back to World War II. The Philippines are a great example of a place, if I'm remembering correctly, that was colonized. But yeah, there were the Southeast Asian Isles basically all had like either European or American petroleum companies. I believe North Africa a little bit too, Arab world. So I'm not that strong on all that stuff, to be honest, but my general understanding is that, yeah, that's US foreign policy. That, it's a little bit of history. You happen to have Nazis that were going around and wanted more energy. They wanted to build tanks. So something happened, right? I don't know. Donald Trump does say, after he talks about how bad, at this time, this was Obama as president. And he said, if I ran my business that way, I'd fire myself. Take one of the worst agreements in our history, the nuclear treaty, quote, with Iran, in which John Kerry, everybody, no latent anger, no anger, because the United States did bomb Iran, but let's listen to this bullshit. Let's listen to this. Tell me I'm wrong. Okay? Deep breaths, Nathan. Deep breaths, Nathan. Take one of the worst agreements in our history, the nuclear treaty with Iran, in which John Kerry negotiated and President Obama rammed through and around Congress. Or rather, that's so funny. He convinced his party to support it and filibuster any debate or vote on it. This is probably the most important treaty of our time, and our very stupid leaders in Washington, D.C. couldn't even bring themselves to hold a discussion and vote on it. Ronald Reagan said, "Trust but verify." But in this case, we aren't following either piece of advice. How can we trust a man like Ayatollah Khamenei? Just a month before we approved the treaty, he reiterated that his country was pledged to destroy and eliminate Israel. our most important ally and longtime partner in preserving some semblance of stability in the region. And as for verification, we don't know what side deals the International Atomic Energy Agency has struck with Iran. Or if we do know, they haven't been made public, folks. So that's Donald Trump on the Iran deal in 2015. Hey, what's up, Neon? Yeah, apparently this is the YouTube algorithm or something. You know, we've got some of the Ducks Wise subscribers are here too, so feel free to like and subscribe. We are a small channel. Very excited to grow. I just published a video. My senator in Arizona, Ruben Gallego, I emailed him. He emailed me back. Probably lots of people did, but I kind of went through, that email. So that's on my page if you guys want to subscribe or like. It's appreciated. Looks like there's some talk about intelligence and stuff in chat. Some sort of deep state economic stuff that's going on. Flashing lights numb your brain just like rap music and marijuana. So yeah. Hey, Chambers of Logic, what's up? High five, high five. And Spokes and Bones, great senator. Hell yeah, great senator. Nonsense, says Cory Woodrow. Cory Woodrow says nonsense. So yeah, Ronald Reagan, trust but verify. This is that sort of Cold War era. Some people would say that there was a clash of civilizations that was difficult to ignore at the time. It was the West versus the rest, and the rest versus the West. And so trust but verify, when a president says it, may have some notation, some connotations to it. It may just be general life advice. But again, Ronald Reagan was leading a very large military with, 5,000-6,000, whatever the number is, of nuclear weapons, more than that. Lots of planes, lots of tanks, big businesses, big oil relationships. Hey, Lufus. I don't know, you got that ASIS stuff going on. So I hope you're having a great day. Yeah, I don't know. If you want to see some cool artwork and stuff and a pile of books. What flavor is the bar? It was blackberry and blueberry. I love it. Yeah, the non-proliferation facts in the chat and stuff like that. Very cool. I appreciate all that. Yeah, it was. When was the big push for non-proliferation? The 90s was when countries like Britain and France actually fundamentally changed their nuclear programs. So big time change. Just change in the world. I think maybe a tinge of fear and a tinge of hope that a little bit of optimism that people would have to be able to see society a little bit differently. We'd have to be able to see some of these security arrangements a little bit differently. So lots of interesting stuff there. And so an argument that Obama pushed something, like, you don't like how Obama went about, it's kind of like this is what, like, a traditional political advisor maybe would have told Donald Trump in 2015 when the book was written, that it's like a whole new world, a something point of view, and no one to tell us no, or where to go, or say we're only dreaming a whole new world. Yeah, you can dislike, and just not be that talented or whatever. You can say that, Donald Trump likes the political process to feel pretty, even if it's not. That's one way to see this. And so what I would say is, Obama rammed through and around Congress for an Iran nuclear deal. It doesn't talk about safety and security in the region. It doesn't talk about the long-term viability of geopolitical understanding in the region and clarity for what the US apparatus should be about. And so who knows? Maybe there's really deep Kissinger school of thought that would say, Mr. President, what you should have done is you should have signed a treaty and then you should have bomb Iran. That's very Cold War, very Reagan era, even further back, sort of really nasty stuff, right? And yeah, but it has nothing to do with what Donald Trump said, saying, we're not winning, you're eating our lunch, we're getting bullied, we're getting pushed around. This Khomeini guy, I don't like him personally. This is all really like mob boss stuff, right? It's not about tanks and guns and planes and bombs and the electricity to just do that, right? The electricity, the oil it takes to keep those things running. It's not about that, this mobster mentality. You're not going to get very far, as it turns out. You're not going to get very far at all thinking about stuff like that. So let me know if I'm wrong. I know I don't want to be bad faith. I was a political science major. I'm not an expert. Slick Rick Room. I like ducks. I see ducks every day on my run. I go run at a riparian preserve. I go run on canalways. I see ducks every day. So for both questions, but why ducks and but why ducks, Slick Rick, it's because I love ducks quite a bit. Got some presidential scholars in chat, folks that know about presidential politics, some of the history and stories and stuff like that is all very interesting, all very cool stuff. All it's fun stuff. It's all good. Good wineries play music to the grapes so they grow optimally. Unfortunately, modern music will destroy vineyards just like society. Yeah, I've been up to, I'm very lucky a couple times. I've been to Central California wineries. There's a Dutch town in Central California. I've also been to Napa Valley before. What's the other one? There's another big one. I've been to Northern California wine country before. Very interesting guy, right? Very interesting stuff. That's actually the story behind the new artwork on the Duck channel. The one I didn't, my actual painting that I didn't get to post this one, guys. I really wanted to. What do you guys think? Can I auction it? Can I sell it? There's the Grift baby doll. There's famous Ducks White artwork. Yeah. Before I reach that magic number of one day having 2,232 subscribers, before your friend Duck makes it to the big time, I'll sell you guys this painting. You'll have to pay for shipping somehow, but I'll sell you this painting. And so I can afford more. You guys might not like it, but this isn't going back to the studio. It's going into nicotine, folks. Ugh. I got a tree fitty offer. I'd take it at this point, folks. I don't have a Cash App, a Patreon, anything. Not asking you guys. I know how to set that stuff up if I wanted to, but the fact that you would offer tree fitty, KMC, here I sit brokenhearted, trying to, I respect it. Antonio, hey, what's up? Good to see you. Am I in favor of Trump? No, that's one of the reasons I'm reading his books is I don't totally understand his policy, and his policy to me appears very bad. It doesn't appear very understandable. It doesn't appear that it comes from a place that it's meant to be understandable. Duck life. Hell yeah, baby. Duck life for sure, everyone. Ignorance is love and life itself. Yeah, very cool. Very cool stuff. So Donald Trump says that, this whole Iran thing, that there might be side deals with the IAEA. Yeah, and so trust but verify doesn't necessarily mean that, this is a neo-realist claim. We talked about neo-realism, and look at how fast that pops up. This is on the second page of this book. Donald Trump is smarter than he leads on. He knows some things. And so trust but verify, maybe a little bit means that, yeah, you as the United States can have a lack of trust for Ayatollah Khamenei. You can also have more trust in him, in the International Atomic Energy Agency, than you do in the Iranian leadership structure, the Iranian regime, whoever's leading at that time, whatever they're actually leading, like in the actual planet fucking Earth sort of sense, which is, yeah, and so for Donald Trump to, he's sort of implying that, yeah, there's not winning, but it is criminally negligent to not take all of these things into account. But he's saying it wrong in the first place here. He's saying it wrong here. Yeah, he's saying it wrong, right? And so at the end of the day, you have Iran and you have systems. It's like, Mr. President, sorry for the clanging and the pots and pans and stuff, but did academia, did geopolitical analysts, did advisors mess this up? If we talk about neorealism and I just come in with a very normal understanding and I say, well, let's look at the systems, let's look at the state level actors. Those are the two things we look at. Is that wrong? I don't know. If you guys are Trump, I'm not trying to rage bait. I'm not trying to start a fight as much as I'm trying to start a discussion or conversation, one of the two. But yeah, neorealism is even very nouveau, saying that, yeah, the United States needs to really depend heavily on these systems. Is that honest? Is that authentic? Is it best that we act honest and authentic about what's actually going on? What's the actual need for secrecy? So not answering those types of questions, which are up in order, that is criminal negligence in my view. If I was to say that I've got to match rhetoric with, with Donald Trump, I would say criminal negligence is, Mr. President, you can't be transparent about what the United States actually wants and wants to achieve. Both things. When you're talking to the American people, Mr. President, and you're not only talking to the American people, but you're talking to world leaders who want you to be presidential. They want you to provide a little bit of clarity into the noise. Even if they don't appreciate it in the short term, you have to be honest with everyone. And the way you sort that out might be a little bit ugly, but Mr. President, we believe you can do this. It would be criminally negligent, in my view, if you don't appreciate what human history has actually produced in terms of this stuff. And maybe it's not useful to talk about the intelligence, spy, military signals, Mossad, CIA, and Iranian, whatever it is, the Republican Guard, our reasons, Pakistani ISI, the non-state groups. Maybe it's not relevant to talk about everybody's specific role in that instance. But if Iran is focusing on some aspect of becoming less isolationist, that's something I should know as a voter, Mr. President. I don't need you to tell me who I do and don't trust, because if I trust that the state is doing something, maybe I trust that more than anything else. It's not your place to tell me that I'm not allowed to do that, Mr. President. Then so this is more rhetoric, I think. This is rhetoric, or Donald Trump means something by this. I come back to November all the time. There's a Taylor Swift song, I think, that, or December, I don't know. Yeah, thank you. I don't know how, at some point in my life, a lot of my college textbooks got lost. I've never been I'm good at reading passages and stuff like that of books. I like Rousseau because I say he makes tiny arguments. You can flip open a page and understand sort of what he's talking about, get some value out of it. Whatever you learned from your mom and dad, from your favorite professors in college, maybe it's not that big of a deal. Maybe you're saying, I just want to understand the vocabulary and the vernacular that a president might use, or that, one of my favorite news anchor, my favorite YouTuber might use. And that's another way to read books. And stuff like that. Thank you to everybody who's hitting that like button. Yeah, it's cool to see the likes go up, I think. But yeah. Then when so this is what Donald Trump then says about Barack Obama's non-bombing nuclear deal with Iran. Then when every Senate Republican criticized the deal, and some of the Democrats did as well, the president compared his critics to our adversaries. In other words, he sells out his friends and allies and then defends his treaty by comparing his critics to our enemies. That's what we call successful diplomacy. And now we're going to open the gates to refugees from places like Syria, which is like extending a personal invitation to ISIS members to come live here and try to destroy our country from within. You got to pick stuff up with your feet like a chimp, folks. You got to pick stuff up with your feet a little bit here to really deeply understand our president, who is posting videos of Barack Obama getting arrested on Truth Social. I don't know what Eric's talking about in chat, but I just made Eric a moderator, so. You should have a wrench now, Eric, if you want a wrench. Yeah, so this is Donald Trump's book still. Great again. This is some violent rhetoric, I think, but I don't know if this is different. Donald Trump seemed to really deeply understand or try to describe his dislike for the political process. Burn that book, says John Smith. Yeah. Spokes and Bones. Yeah, I saw it on David Pakman's channel. Today, Donald Trump posted on Truth Social an AI video of Obama getting arrested. An AI video of Obama in the Oval Office meeting with Trump, and then FBI agents come in and arrest him. It was very, very disturbing. Very disturbing book that Donald Trump wrote. Donald Trump writing books. Yeah, so if you just sort of skip, if you look at the page here, look where my fingers are. If you look at the start and the end of this passage with this book, who knows? Maybe you don't like Trump, but it's still his words. It starts by saying President Obama rammed through and around Congress, and then it ends by saying the president compared his critics to our adversaries and sold out his friends and allies. So I don't always know what that means, friends and allies. Again, in theory, we talk about an anarchic system, which means that you have to build systems, you have to build relationships which balance power. I mean, is it Trump or a ghostwriter? Yeah, I don't know. Yeah, it could be, but it's the president's talking points. It sort of sounds like Donald Trump. Yeah. Yeah. Who knows? Maybe he had his political advisors had like a brand and style guide, and so they got someone to write the book. But it's got a foreword by the author. Yeah, probably a ghostwriter. Trump can't even form a sentence. Dylan Hughes says, "Ha, most better than the Dems." Yeah, and so this big long sentence that Donald Trump writes, maybe it is not paragraphs, but it's one big sentence about Donald Trump. That's what we call successful diplomacy. Yeah, no one calls this successful diplomacy, right? This is what, if you take Donald Trump at his word here and you say, well, President Obama did all these bad things. He sold people out. He went through Congress. I don't like the process. I don't like how he acted. That doesn't sound like anything that any rational actor would call successful diplomacy. Kit says, not sure how it's lawful for him to be running businesses while in office. Yeah, Obama deported 3 million people. Yep. Yeah, ICE agents. Yeah, same wings, different bird. Yeah, and so, one of the things that, people like Bernie Sanders, even if you don't always agree with him, people that like Ron Paul that have voted, Ron Paul's a libertarian even, right? I'm a little more center progressive. I'm a little more center than both of them put together, right? And I'm probably still more center, if you want to understand how I sort of think about something, how I sort of talk about something, who I'd want to support, uh, you know, but yeah. And so, when I wake up on a Monday or Tuesday personally, no, diplomacy means that we have a good reason to not want to go to war. We have a good reason that when we're talking to even our most bitter of enemies, if there's a reason that we can both, if when we are able to focus and find a reason that we can both move forward on things, and we move forward on moving forward on things, and both sides can say, yeah, we're willing to go do a little bit of work. We're willing to go fire the people that aren't actually contributing to this process, right? I'm not going to fire my closest advisors. I'm going to fire the people that are breaking down in the process if and when that happens. Very different approach. And that's anarchy. That's anarchy in the system. That's saying that I have another word. So for my my non-normie friends, and I'm very normie, but just so you guys understand and know, operating in a zero trust environment, you can talk about zero trust. You can talk about these more granular sort of policy issues, and having operational security built into a plan. Which is able to act almost as an accordion. Both of these things are almost like an accordion. They can expand, they can contract, they can be important, they can be less important. They're not going to become a larger geopolitical issue unless you mess this up. Unless we mess something like this up. If there's an issue, people should be able to be less artistic and poetic about stuff. So anarchy is another way of saying that, well, yeah, there truly is a zero trust environment. And if I don't see my own end goal as it should be, or your own end goal as it should be, then what zero trust means is that I just don't know. So Donald Trump is sort of being bad faith to former President Obama, in my opinion, saying that, well, for reasons that I don't like the process, I don't think Barack Obama actually knows. And I don't know why that would be true. Yeah, all my Trump friends on the channel, if you guys are Trump, or if you are more a traditional Republican, libertarian style voter, or even not that big into politics, but you kind of feel like Trump got you or something, and I'm wrong about this, let me know why that is. Let me know what we can talk about. Yeah, and then Donald Trump goes straight into ISIS. He goes straight into talking about terrorism right after this. Yeah, Big Tyrone is on some of that. Yeah, this is, you don't have to read too much into this, Tyrone, but I do have this here. I appreciate you, by the way. Never have to worry about a divorce. Yeah, if it's all tax benefits, there's no emotions. There's no building a really good life and stuff together. Don't read too much into this, but this is some nice artwork, folks. I don't believe that an institution like marriage should be approached. I don't believe there should be government inquisitions into things. I think that is, in 99.9% of cases, way more dangerous in actual homophobia versus being a good faith reason to do something. And yeah. Yeah. Eric, cool out a little bit on some of that stuff. Thank you. No worries, dude. Women usually can't. That's correct, Eric, and we won't. Cool. So, cool. Yeah. So now we're going to open the gate for refugees from places like Syria, which is like extending a personal invitation to ISIS members who come here and live and only try to destroy our country from within. This is America today. It's a shining city on a hill, which other countries used to admire and try to be like. So what can be done about it? How do we start winning again? To start with, we need a government that is committed to winning and has experience in winning. I don't know what that means exactly. I don't know what that means exactly. This book is about how we do that. So that's really odd. Again, no mention of actual anarchic or game theoretic systems. No mention of actual ways that the United States projects power around the world. If you don't like that word power projection, no ways in which liberalism is influential. It perhaps creates enviable democratic governments and stuff like that. No big deal. And yeah. And so, and yeah, to start with, we need a government that is committed to winning and experienced in winning. So Donald Trump, my opinion again is in this book, in the first chapter, this is like a critical error that someone running for president shouldn't make. He talks about a political process like it's geopolitical competition. And then he keeps emphasizing this xenophobic sort of approach to immigration. He talks about a place like Syria, which he hasn't yet demonstrated or offered a good faith or honest, he hasn't created that sort of the two-lane highway for discussion or debate about how American people can see this type of thing. Can a democracy be overthrown by the people? All the time. Absolutely. Yeah. All the time. Absolutely. Yeah. Big Tyrone. Yeah. Good question. Yeah. Right after World War One, was considered a autocratic or fascist moment in U.S. history. Not to be too grandiose, but that's what it was. And so this was a period following, what people saw as technology and liberalism and these nascent industrialized democracies causing pain, death, and hardship like the world had never seen. It was horrible. So whatever's in that sort of big problem set, you see countries like Italy. You see in other places in the world, maybe while the fox is away, the cat will play. Obviously, Germany, you see Japan sort of return to what they would say is a historical but modern form of almost theocratic type imperialism. And Japan was a very violent country at that time. The world was a very violent place, but Japan was a very violent country. And so that's a really great question, is that, yeah, democracy, the reasons people voted against democracy isn't because of Mein Kampf. It isn't because Hitler said, we don't like the Jewish people. It was really that people were saying, we don't like individuals acting in their own interest. We don't like individuals telling us that science and manufacturing is going to solve all of the world's problems. We don't like that we're going to have politicians that are supporting business owners over the country's interest, over my interests. And yeah, this culminated, over about the 20 or so years, 25 years between World War I and World War II, culminated in these large authoritarian governments building alliances, working together. And so this is another case of anarchy. This is another case of anarchy because in that 25-year period, in this 25-year period, countries like France or the UK would say, well, our neighbors, these guys smell awful. These are horrible, horrible countries. We don't want to live next to National Socialists. We're not really that cool with what Lenin and now Stalin is doing in Russia. This is, we sort of see what you might be trying to do. We sort of see why you're upset, and we want to see what comes of this. But if you're taking that Western perspective and Western lens, that authoritarian or autocratic or fascist moment in history, the politics were really bad. And it was ultimately about that, Winston Churchill and whoever it was, Woodrow Wilson or fucking whoever. the guys making the decision, the guys who made these decisions at the time were saying that no, as it turns out, you guys are bad, but you're not bad enough. We don't see a reason why you're bad enough now to hey, what's up, John Norris? We don't like it. These people aren't bad enough for us to say there's a zero-sum war game for us to go to now. We have to wait for these bad guys to do it. We have to wait for these bad. Can you guys hear me okay? Can you guys hear my mic and everything okay? Sounds all right, good enough, not good enough. Give context. I have a theory that in a democracy, there's too much confusion. Cool, thanks folks. Appreciate you, big dog. To give context, I have a theory that in a democracy, there's too much confusion on who's running things. Yeah, yeah, absolutely. You know, there's always questions about what you're allowed to know and talk about in a democracy. That's one of the arguments against that, is that, well, if I just know what I can know in a democracy, well, then I know that. I can talk about it. There's no problem, my friend. There's not a problem at all. There doesn't have to be. Yeah. Whereas in you know, and the liberal Democrat response as well is that, well, in Italy, what Mussolini actually talked about, what Adolf Hitler talked about, is that you're not actually allowed to have an individual identity. Your individual identity is actually that of the state. Do you guys understand? You guys see this? That if you're Italian, you're Italian. If you're National Socialist in Germany, you're a Nationalist Socialist. You guys have to understand that. And so the sort of like, whatever it is, yeah, the liberal response is that, well, if that's not actually true, if that's not what human nature is like, if that's not what a society can be like, well, then what you are in Nazi Germany and Italy is a liar. You guys are lying. You're ultimately going to lose. And so it's funny because is Iran like Nazi Germany? In what ways? In what ways is human nature repressed in Iran? If you're in the West and you don't like Iran, you don't like the place, you don't like the way they do business, you don't like their style of government, you don't like the regime, you don't like the decision structures they have set up. Is it the case that Iran is like Nazi Germany? Iran is like the black shirts in Italy. Right? You have morality police that are black shirts that don't just do laws. They do laws so hard that you don't have an identity. That's probably a little bit true. It's probably a little bit true. Maybe it's a little bit true for some people in the United States as well. But, can you make that same argument? Can you make that point from the perspective of a functional, working social organization that gets us from Monday to Friday? At the end of it, whatever. Maybe life still sucks. We'll figure it out. Talking about mob rule and stuff. Now, all you anti-democratic people, did you guys see the Mehdi Hassan debate at all? Did you guys see Mehdi Hassan? You had actual people quoting, people actually quoting Nazi theoreticians. And that was seen as acceptable. And you guys, everyone here is doing the same thing now. Yeah, so Mehdi Hassan did a debate on Jubilee. I don't know, he's some political guy, whatever. And then, there were 20 people that wanted to talk about fascism, and they don't understand it. They don't understand what fascism actually is. So for people who are talking bad about democracy in chat here, is that because you don't have an identity outside of that? I don't understand what you mean. This might seem counterintuitive, but like if there's a law book and you're just saying, well, a good Christian man, a good Christian national needs to hold this book. They need to hold the law book. Whether you like it or you don't like it, whatever, I don't actually give a shit, but a good Christian man needs his hand on the button, his hand on the lever. And this is what we're actually working for in the United States. That's not a government. That's not a society. That's a stupid thing to say. That's stupid. What are you talking about? What are you talking about? You would never accept that in any other area of your own life, right? You wouldn't say my mom owns a toaster so she knows how to cook. That's crazy. Yeah, there's no such thing as fascism, folks. There apparently, you know, not much confusion about our system, how our system works. Simple civics should be taught again. Yeah, a little bit of civic society, generalized reciprocity is one of these norms or values. It's actually a mechanism in societies described by Putnam as creating wealth, creating opportunity, creating more predictability, more stability. Alan Pikiun, sorry if I'm saying your name wrong. Hello from Ukraine. Hello from the Southwest United States. It's very good to see you. Very good to see you. Do people truly want to be individuals or part of the? That's a hard question. That's like a deep philosophical question that I can't answer. Yeah. America is a zoo. Yeah, the human zoo. Yeah. I'm gonna rub ox blood on my face and do my pittance to Uncle Sam, and I won't quit until I'm done, folks. I'm a thick boy. I am THICCCCC. That is how thick I am. Lady Justice, bro. That's the human zoo. Oh, you're not talking badly about democracy in America. I'm stating that Americans behave like Nazis. Yeah, cool. Yeah, I think people can dislike the process and say that a lot of our policies are legal in the sense that if they are persistent or get worse, they have some of these properties or characteristics of fascism. I think it's very weird that we saw the militarization, both in terms of intelligence as well as operationalizing ICE campaigns connected to the legal system. That's a really dark idea. And the fact that this happened without discussion, without debate, you didn't actually even tell your own MAGA base that you were going to do this. It's illegal. It's illegal in most cases. It's actually deeply illegal, like for many reasons. So you can dislike that, right? But maybe you do like it. I don't know if you like it, but we don't always get to choose what we like or what we don't like or who we are. We don't get the chance to say, okay, this is an iceberg. This immigration question is 10% above the surface, 90% below the surface. Let's talk about it. Let's not rush in and just do the known. Just because we know we can hook up Palantir, just because we know we can hook up new Ford Explorers with the cages and the blacked out windows, bulletproof glass, all this stuff. We don't need to do that. We know we can do that anytime. So to be a just country, to be equitable, to be deliberative, to give people the benefit of the doubt, the voters and the potential people that would be the beneficiaries and victims, who are the same people in this, the same people. What is the just thing to do? What is the right thing to do? Let's look at the full iceberg, right? We don't need to take just the foreword. We don't just need to take the ghostwriting or actual writing, actual writing of Donald J. Trump. We don't need to take these disconnected arguments that he doesn't see as his misunderstanding of the political system. We don't need to go to online debates on the whatever show or Andrew Wilson's The Crucible show. We don't need that sort of bad faith argumentation that says you don't know enough, you're not smart enough to know you know. You know? No. Let's see, we got a Sean Beckett says America is a country controlled by old men. Yeah. Cool. That's an opinion for sure, my dude. Ruined by, okay. We'll get that one gone. And will be destroyed by weak men. Yeah. Cool. Sean, good to have you here. If you want to outline some of those points, or my general rule is you can kind of put your ideas out there. 1 in 3 messages, 1 in 3 messages, 1 in 4, however you figure it out. Try to kind of fuel the conversation in chat, or help someone else, or help someone understand your ideas. Mossad killed Epstein. Heart Matter says, do you think the right isn't concerned about Epstein because they're used to it in Sunday school? Yeah, the norms around justice, I think being good faith, saying that, well, asking whether or not there's norms around criminal justice, norms around victims' rights, norms around understanding what the American identity, okay, Heart Matters, what the American identity allows from people who say, well, the American identity looks a little different to me after knowing this, or going through this, or seeing the system operate this way. So my American identity is actually a little bit different. We need to be able to talk about it however I can. We need to be able to talk about that however I can. And so if we're talking about, I don't know that I deeply believe that far-right Christian nationalists are pushing and actively striving to have there be dignity in the criminal justice process. We think about the best sides of restorative justice. It's like, cool, let's stop there. Stop the bus. And in terms of Epstein, I think there's information that is missing, or that just doesn't exist in reality. So either the case that Epstein was just, Epstein and his closest associates did this thing. He paid people to do this thing. Whatever. Diane Allen says Trump is evil. Yeah. Destiny does. Hey, that's funny, Deval. Good to see you. You got a job yet? Hey, what's up, Jesus Crust? Good to see you as well. Good to see you. Definitely a crackhead. Good to see you guys. And Vic, Giuliani was in charge of the jail system in New York. So you guys, just in case you didn't know what we're doing, we're reading some of Donald Trump's book that he published before his first election, talking about some of the geopolitics of it and stuff like that. And yeah, so any of you guys that don't like my look, don't like the sound of the show, and what the heck? Boy, this is finicky, guys. I don't know if this is me or if this is I don't know what this is. Microphone's really finicky, folks, but yeah, feel free to join in the conversation. You guys want to do, how do you guys feel about sustainability? How do you guys feel about sustainability? Do you want to know what Donald Trump said about this, about energy, sustainability, about competition in 2015? I don't know. I could go for it. Yeah, give me 1 second. I'm gonna send the stream link out, like 1 or 2 sites. Thank you everyone for being here. I'm sorry to do selfish stuff on stream like this, like doing self-promotion while you guys are sitting here just waiting. I really mean that. I could just jump into this topic of energy in this book or whatever. So I'll try to sort of balance my own ego stuff. And yeah, whatever. Total virtue signal, bro. Total virtue signal. And yeah, but if you guys have opinions about Donald Trump and energy while I am sending this link out, let me know, guys. Let me know what Donald Trump, what your opinions about energy in the United States, around the world. If you know anything about history and you've got any of that kind of stuff going on, just can let me know. But yeah, we're gonna have to hear it directly from the horse's mouth, so to speak. And yeah, absolutely. These are just a couple discords that I use. So I know there's 16 people watching right now. I want 17 or 18 as well, for just if anyone's content creators, you understand this kind of, whatever stuff. Yeah. I'm gonna send this to Rob Noor. Rob Noor is I mean, Rob barely knows me. I don't think Rob. One time he said he was going to give me an emoji in his chat. If any of you guys know Rob Noor, he doesn't have that big of a channel. He's got like 15,000 subscribers, but he's a former collegiate debate coach, very far right MAGA guy. Very far right MAGA guy. So yeah. But Rob said he was going to put a duck emoji in his chat one time. Yeah, when we were talking about Donald Trump. Donald Trump. Bam. And yeah, we'll get back into this in just a second here. Let's do Donald Trump on sustainability, folks. Can energy be fascist? That's an interesting question, isn't it? Can energy be fascist? It's crazy to think about. It sure is crazy to think about. Maybe it is the case that, you know, you have to have a geopolitically competitive energy strategy, and it's so important, right? Just accept that it's so important that maybe someone who you disagree with, like Donald Trump, ends up being right because you have to have this strategy. Or maybe it's the case that it's like what we talked about at the beginning of this stream, where you're not really, you know, we basically said, Mr. President Donald Trump, you're not allowed to only and always just have an opinion about the political process because you don't like it. It didn't work how you think it should work. It didn't, you know, who knows? Maybe you don't like that. You know, it wasn't forceful enough at the right times. It wasn't forceful or being good faith. It wasn't producing political activation in the way you think we needed to from a sort of national interest perspective, national security perspective. And so this chapter of Donald Trump's book, Great Again, is called The Energy Debate, A Lot of Hot Air. A lot of hot air. So Donald Trump starts by quoting one of my favorite authors. This is Mark Twain, and he says, often attributed to Mark Twain, everybody talks about the weather, but nobody does anything about it. Ha 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 ha. Oh, dear boy, what a joke that is. Of course you can't change the weather. You can just marvel at the clouds in the sky. Yeah, so everybody talks about the weather. Nobody does anything about it. Apparently, we're trying to prove them wrong. We're actually blaming weather patterns on man-made causes. So first, the so-called experts told us we were responsible for global warming, but then when the temperature started dropping, scientists began referring to these variations as climate change. Now these experts can't figure out whether it's getting too hot or too cold. What do you guys think so far? Hey, what's up? Ahmet Tealgun. Sorry if I'm saying your name wrong. What's up? Good to see you. Hello to you as well. Do you believe in large-scale weather manipulation? You know, it could be possible one day. It could be possible. There's a way to manufacture clouds. There's ways to pull carbon from the environment. There's ways to turn moisture in the air to create condensation. So these are all really important. You know, desalinization of ocean water is another thing. So you can basically, in one global sense, you can pull water, right? You can pull water from the ocean, bring it on land, and use it on land, which is pretty cool. You know, and so, yeah, you know, I don't know that I'm a conspiracy theorist about those things. There's a study called hydrology, which is very important. This studies how water tables, how aquifers, and how natural water sources move water at what volumes and times around the world, you know, from a system into other systems, or however they do it. These guys they're mathematicians and all this stuff. So they're geniuses. Wherever these people are geniuses. So Donald Trump right now, though, in his book, he's not talking about, I don't think he's talking about weather manipulation. I think he's talking about, he's not even talking about conspiracy theory, I don't think. I think he's talking about experts on climate science, experts on whether it's geology or whatever the environmental stuff is, whatever these folks do. But he's talking about so-called experts that were responsible for global warming. Mafia says, I saw you in a GAY video. What's up, Mafia? It's good to see you. We're reading, for folks that just joined, reading great again. Sam Tahir, good to see you. That is, we are, I'll show everyone. You can choose to not read into it that much, but yeah, the rule here is a lot of people don't see it coming, but we'll ban some people, we'll hide you on the channel and stuff like that. But we are LGBTQ friendly, inclusive, all that stuff. So no homophobia. This is not like a Jim Bob or Crucible channel. We're having intelligent conversations, back and forth discussions, and yeah, concomitantly, we want to have good faith engagements and stuff. So yeah, spokes and bones, great call out and everything like that. Okay, good, because people who think they have energy production to manipulate hurricanes and tornadoes are mentally ill. Finally, a good channel. Cool. LGBT friendly, but not shower friendly. Oh, ha ha ha. Yeah, very funny, Romeo 316. Yeah, no, cool. Very cool. Cool. Yeah, and so again, if we're talking about actual like precipitation production on planet Earth, or that's what we're talking about, or we're talking about how those systems work, we're talking about maybe the ecology, right? Ecology is a great word. It almost implies both this aspect of economy as well as this sort of very flat way that things relate to each other, this type of thing. And so Donald Trump very funnily quotes Twain and says, everybody talks about the weather, but nobody does anything about it. Very funny, Mr. President. Maybe we agree, maybe we don't agree, or whatever it is. Yeah, maybe we agree, maybe we don't agree. So yeah, Sam, we just talked about you can actually point to specific technologies. Some of these have geopolitical importance. Some of them are just normal technologies. Sometimes they're part of a bigger solution. Sometimes they just are the solution when you see it. When you see it, folks. So, so the new term is extreme weather conditions. I don't know if extreme weather conditions, I think this is Donald Trump being dishonest. Yeah, we can look at weather conditions that when someone says extreme weather conditions, you're not talking about specifically like the water table or drought or famine or something like that. You're talking about these. What it actually is like these big weather systems that are coming at frequencies or intensities that you're not used to seeing. So, and yeah, but yeah, extreme weather conditions, you could say it's these small events and stuff too. Dude, you look like that guy that my father cheated on my mom with. Thanks, Cash Bandit. I don't know if that's actually nice. My moral stance is that I wouldn't do it. My meta ethics or whatever, but yeah, cool. You meant you can't say the outcome. Weather is natural phenomenon. I don't know what that means. What would the outcome be? Does weather have an outcome? It has an outcome when you create phenomenalism around it. If you say clouds rain, and if you say clouds rain in a specific geography over a period of time, then you can look at like historical averages, right? So you can't say manipulate if you can say for sure what the outcome would be. Yeah, and so if you're looking at the way that like technology or like a conspiracy of weather manipulation would work, so it would be very dangerous to do so. Like, yeah, I don't know if you're talking about like DARPA grants or something like that. You're talking about some deep state shill stuff. Yeah, who knows? Maybe I'm a shill, maybe I'm not. but yeah, that idea of outcomes is understood, but that system of, I'm in Arizona, right? So Sam Tyler, I'm in Arizona. So I have something in common with people in Mexico. I have something in common with people just a little bit north of me. I have something in common with people in Sudan or Ethiopia or Somalia. So yeah, absolutely. It's great to have good politics around something like water, good politics about drivers of things that make water problems worse. That's my belief in Arizona. I don't know what your response to that. To me, an outcome, for talking about politics and we're reading Donald Trump's book, we're doing this one thing. My argument is that, yeah, total different thing. My argument is that, yeah, the political process, the debate, the dialogue, the discussions that we're capable of having, that's actually what's at stake. What's at stake is, Donald Trump, I can try and understand what you're saying by immediately starting off saying that these so-called experts don't know what they're talking about, when in my opinion, they do. In my opinion, and for my voting values, for what I want to look at government as doing, they do. In the sense of a debate or an argument, they do. And yeah. And if you guys like this kind of content, if you guys want to up your political game, your critical thinking game, if you guys like philosophy, religion, we do all kind of stuff like that. Paras Powar, you talk like a diplomat. Yeah, thank you. I appreciate it. Yeah, Bernie Sanders had a great response on Trump Epstein. If you like political speech, you can check that out. I also recently posted a video. It was an email that my senator sent me. So my congressional representative sent me. So if you like that sort of foundational politics, if you like understanding how we compete and how we work together, feel free to subscribe. Check out that video on my channel if you want. And yeah, it's good to see you. Good to see you here as well. Experts normally become experts because they are experts in their field. Yeah, that's great. Please stop yapping. Zhao One Live. Yeah, cool. Thank you. I appreciate you, my friend. I appreciate you, my friend. Yeah. Yeah. So that's awesome. So, expert testimony is one sort of area of study in philosophy. Like, can I appeal to a textbook and say, well, this is written by an expert, so it must be true? Or what is actually true about it? That's a good mental exercise if you're testing your own epistemology. If you want to know, like, well, what in the Bible, like maybe you're religious, right? Okay. And we're good faith towards everyone on the channel. And you say, what in the Bible is actually epistemically true? Or if you're secular, you say, what in a textbook can be said to be true because someone wrote it? Like, it might be true that it's most likely accurate data. It's most likely accurate reporting on processes, these types of things. Hey, thanks. Yeah, appreciate you, Sam. It'll be good to see you again. Yeah, good to see you again. So, and whatever. Yeah, by sending the byproducts of burning fossil fuels into the atmosphere, we have supposedly changed natural weather patterns. So that's an empirical claim. It's an empirical claim. There might be lots of empirical claims, like Russell's teapot, which says, if it's the case, there's a teapot floating around the earth, it just doesn't exist. The fact, when we start looking at reasons and evidence to trust climate science, or at least be aware that it exists, we can recreate you can recreate a greenhouse. This is why, guys, if you guys stream, just use your, I don't know if you guys can hear my microphone or what is actually going on. What is going on, but just use your freaking smartphone and take care of your smartphone. Put your battery at 80%. There's usually a setting. If you do the drop down, all of this stuff that breaks is an inconvenience. It's an inconvenience. But yeah, the reason climate science might be real is you can go to Home Depot or Lowe's. You can go to a hardware store and you can make a miniature greenhouse right now if you wanted to. Hey, thanks. I'm a goober. Hey, Zhao, one, our rule here is if you send 3 messages, depending on your personality, 1 and 3 has to be helpful, or 2 and 3 have to be helpful. So you're at 4 or 5, whatever. Welcome to the channel. It's good to see you. Please try and be a little bit just engaging what we're talking about, engaging folks in chat in a sort of helpful, kind, authentic manner. just give it a go. One issue I have with many studies cited on any topic is a super majority of studies support who pays for the study. There's no evidence for that. Hey, Drop TF, what's up? We've got one of my friends from Kinetic Kel Universe and Drop TF. So it's super good to see you, my friend. Wyatt Borden says the answer is nuclear energy. The answer is nuclear energy. Yeah, definitely. Whatever. But nuclear energy, there's lots of uranium buried in the ground, lots of uranium in barrels all over the world. So, nuclear energy, it's one of these things as well, is that if humans are really good and naturally tend towards consuming energy, it is politically relevant about how often and why we reduce the cost of consuming energy, for what reasons, and for what externalities, right? If you had a magic Star Trek microwave that could just work based on quantum entanglement with some energy source, maybe then it's the case, yeah, let's do this quantum entanglement energy for every microwave in the world. But I would know, when I think of actual politics and I think of, my grandmother survived, she lived through the Great Depression, she went and served in World War II. So did my grandpa. They thought it was a value to be able to, as the greatest generation, they thought it was a value to be able to live off of, if you have to, you eat rice, right? If you have to, make some porridge, and you don't complain, that's your meal. Who knows? Maybe in 2025, that's a little wacky of a political idea. But they still get to vote in our democracy. Their values still might be part of American identity. And so if they see this nuclear energy stuff and they say, guys, stop, be quiet for a minute. Be quiet, just shut up, right? My grandma and grandpa, my grandpa was a pilot. He says, shut up. Holy crap, shut up. Shut it. Yeah, in that case, it's yeah, you're right, grandpa. You're totally right, my friend. I don't know if homie's here, but what's up? So this is, I'm guessing your grandma did not serve in World War II. That's cap. No, cap, it's based as well. My grandma was a nurse in World War II, dude. She was a nurse, my friend. Yeah, it's crazy. So, she was a second generation German immigrant to the United States. So she did serve in World War II. She had that weird sort of, whatever it is. You can look up any study and who the outcome benefits and follow back who pays for it. It's a fact. Even if you don't want to acknowledge it, cigarettes and sugar are two of the most blatant. Yeah, good point. Good point. If you want to think that global warming and emissions or pollution or the efficiency of computer chips, right? An independent collegiate research team says, we're actually going to test how powerful chips are, why they're that powerful for your laptop or something, your Asus Ryzen 5 or whatever the heck it is, your Ryzen 5, your Intel i9, whatever the heck. I don't know. Maybe those are all biased. Those are all for consumer purposes and not scientific purposes. So yeah, for me, scientific purposes means that we get to be transparent and talk about it. That's just my opinion. Elo Lee, hey, good to see you take a shower. I did finish my 5 miles in 110 degrees. Get your frogman on. That's my stolen valor. My grandparents served, so I'm allowed to, I think I'm allowed to say that. I think I can say a lot of stuff. I don't have to. I don't know why I'd want to. If I could say it otherwise, yes. But yeah, I got my frogman on. I probably should shower. Got a little work in. Maybe not quite. Who knows? Who actually knows, folks? You never know until you know, and you never know until it's time to shower. If you did it or not, if you were successful or not. Why? Look at how the reefs and blah, blah, blah. Okay. Yeah. So, blah. So if you just joined the stream, we are rereading Donald Trump's pre-2016 election book. This is called Great Again. This is a book written by Donald Trump. Some people are saying ghost written by Donald Trump, but it's Donald Trump's book, originally called Crippled America, folks. We're talking about energy, science, technology, as Donald Trump did, as Donald Trump has. So Donald Trump says we have even had ice ages. I just don't happen to believe they are man-made. I do agree that so-called global climate change is causing us some problems. It's causing us to waste billions of dollars to develop technologies we don't need to fulfill our energy needs. Hey, good point. Good point. I do agree. So Donald Trump did this cool thing where this is a cool debate tactic. It's not a very good one. It's a good one to know about. So credit to our president. So what he did is he said, we have ice ages. I just don't happen to believe they were man-made. I do agree that these global climate changes are causing us some problems, and it's causing us to waste taxpayer money. So he does a very complex argument where he reframes what it means to talk about global warming, and then he envelops it in his own political context. So big brain stuff. The actual mechanisms that he's talking about for my boxers, my wrestlers, my athletes in chat, everyone in chat, whoever you are, is he's saying that, yeah, we're talking about the same mechanism, but so much simpler. We're talking, you and me, like, not to criticize, but we're talking about the same mechanism, and you're making it more complicated. It's global warming. But when you see it, what do we get? The only thing that we actually get isn't this sort of complex scientific argument. The only thing we actually get is that, well, it turns out you want to throw money at the problem when I say these experts aren't experts. I say these experts aren't experts, and if I'm Donald Trump and I'm being really good faith, even if it's painful for me to say it. Hey, what's up, Christian Bridges? Good to see you again, my friend. Yeah, if you guys want to smash any of the reacts, subscribe, like, whatever, all that cool stuff, don't worry about it. It's good to see you. My name is Duck. My real name's Nathan Swift. I go by Duck online. This channel's called Duck's Why. We do this stuff. But yeah, no worries to rush on this stuff. But like, the Joe Rogan style argument is that we talk about the same thing. I really believe that these people aren't experts. Not only do I really believe these people aren't experts, I don't think that, ice ages and everything else that comes with it is man-made. And someone else says, you get my opinion as a sort of center-left progressive is that, no, you're on the right track. But what you don't understand is that we actually got the pros in nature. The pros in nature are the ones that are working on all this stuff. If you want to, a little bit, if you guys want to fuck around and find out, like, go open a book, go do your research, right? We're talking about the same thing, guys. Does Christian own this chat? PD Pablo, he is spamming some emojis. We got Wyatt up above too, I see. Yeah. Hey, Christian, just when we have smaller rooms, if you mind, like, it's cool using the sort of symbol language. I love seeing the duck emoji and stuff. And yeah, thanks for fueling stuff along and all of that and stuff too, Christian Bridges. It's awesome. Yeah, it's cool. Whatever. Yeah. And yeah, PD Pablo, I try and read a lot of the messages, so feel free to chat. North Carolina, come on and raise up, take your shirt off and spin it around your head, spinning like a helicopter. North Carolina. It's my boy, PD Pablo. Oh, Wyatt's done some restoration projects. That's very cool. Yeah, coral reefs, a lot of fishing and trolling boats. That's not a rocket science one, whether you're a fighter or not a fighter, if you're using just understanding what happens to coral reefs. But yeah, you put a giant anchor, a giant net, you troll the bottom, you literally rip up bottom, you're fishing, hunting, not complicated. You're going out to hunt for where it's not complicated. You're going out to hunt for where the bottom feeder, like shrimp and stuff, are. So you put a big fucking thing on the bottom of your boat and you troll the bottom. It's sort of illegal, I think, in a lot of places, but if that's how you go get fish this way, right? You go get fish this way, someone buys these. So this can damage coral reefs and stuff like that. And yeah, who knows? Loose diesel fuel in the ocean, whatever. I don't know. Temperature changes in the ocean, subtle temperature changes. Yeah, Wyatt, that's a good way to see it too. Yeah, Joe Rogan curates conversations with experts online. And so when he's going out and thinking about arguments and stuff that he does, it's cool. He's informed and he's very transparent that he himself is a hunter for, he hunts like deer and elk and stuff. He's a black belt, so he's an absolutely crazy martial artist. This guy's insane. You've never seen anything like it. You've never seen anything like it. And, so I can't say a lot of good things. I think Joe Rogan's given a lot of people platforms, which I believe in, but I think people have a responsibility to speak truth to power to a bigger audience. So welcome to your boy, Buddy Duck, being the loser on the internet. It's about truth to power, folks. If you're not speaking truth to power, my friends, then you ain't doing your job. And so this is Donald Trump's basic argument. He's saying that, well, there's no way that Democrats can prove that there is possibly going to be a global warming scenario. Even if you come out and you say it emphatically, like you know it or you believe it, it's still the case that people like Professor Dave online, people like Neil deGrasse Tyson, people like Sabine Hossenfelder, these people that are scientists or passionate about certain issues, and policy experts, they don't know what they're talking about in terms of policy. It's actually the case that these things, says Donald Trump, just cause us to waste billions of dollars. And so, yeah, it could be said, what got you into streaming, Duck? I was a social dropout. I used to work tech jobs. I had a great career. I'm very lucky, very, very lucky person. Life changes happen for some people. And so I stopped doing tech jobs. And when I wanted to go back, it was not a right fit. I ended up for the last really 8 months, 9 months, I've been super dedicated, exploring new Discords, exploring different people's live streams, being confident and open to hop on a panel and just sit there or say a couple things, have my one thing prepared I wanted to say. Even when I'm feeling sort of introverted, I'll hop into a Discord channel and just listen. Or I will sort of prepare the one thing that I'm going to say and I'll say that thing. And so, at this point in time, I'm hoping that at some point, maybe I can make $100-200 a month off this. I also just enjoy doing my own content. I like talking to you guys. It's a lot of work. It's a lot of work. It's a lot of work getting feedback from people. And it's, and that kind of stuff, not like woe is me. It's obviously a privilege to be able to share information on the internet. So that's why I'm here. Who knows? Maybe I'll lose my crap, one day. Hey, what's up? Eric's back. Good to see you. Everyone, shout out to our mods. We have a couple new mods in chat, so be nice. Cold, good to see you. What in the Kamala Harris is this? Stop breathing and save the planet. Then virtue signaler. Thank you, Cold. If you want to, cool. Yeah, I appreciate you. Yeah, if you don't like Kamala Harris, that's cool. We're reading Donald Trump's book. If you didn't catch that, great again. Right now. So we're giving Donald Trump his airtime. I love talking about the ideas that politicians, public figures like Donald Trump share, even if I disagree with them. AJ Gentile and his podcast, The Y Files, his episode on deep sea mining was epic. Yeah, that sounds dope. Cool. Yeah, definitely for sure. Drop TF. Drop TF is the what do they say online? They say he's the boy for sure. He's the man. He's the big dog. So yeah, good to see you, my friend. And all this stuff. Yeah. Glad you talk about ideas, but let's not talk about people. Yeah, we can talk about people. one day, if you guys want to, if you guys catch one of my insomnia streams, we can talk about non-normie stuff a little bit more. I'm a little bit neurodivergent. Not that it's anyone's business to bring up or talk about. If that's you, if that's you. It isn't. And yeah, we can talk about whatever, all kinds of stuff, I think. But yeah, talking about people, I just can, for me, what I can understand is what people say and do, and then I can talk ad infinitum about it. Whether it's useful or coherent or word salad, folks, we do it all. This is Duck's Why. My name is Duck Nathan Swift, and we are reading this freaking book. If you guys want to smash that like button, all you have to do is tap that like up on the top, hit like, hit subscribe. We'll see you back here when we do another stream in that case. Yeah, do you guys want to keep talking about energy? We can talk about, he goes into Obama again. So again, book from 2015. This is the tail end of Obama's second term. Obama was president from 2008 to 2016. 2015, yeah, 2016. So, yeah, Obama was very much saddled with wars in the Middle East. Donald Trump was tasked in his first term with wrapping some of those wars up. Obama also had some ambitious ideas for new ways of doing healthcare and stuff in the United States. I felt he didn't totally consolidate the way we talk about social safety nets, which are important for a lot of people in our country, in the United States. So there were political issues, but I think Obama did a great job personally. No problem. You can disagree. Red Door Woman, what's up? Good to see you. Yeah. Do you guys want to do cap and trade? This is getting sort of granular. I don't know about cap and trade, but yeah. Yeah, I don't know who you're talking about. Davis Bastard Firm. Good to see you. Oxcat, what's up? We got Kissy Cat in chat. Good to see you. I saw you up on, I wasn't using chat, but I saw you up on Flow State's panel yesterday briefly. So good to see you. Good to see you here. Thanks for tuning in. I'm reading, right now I'm reading Great Again, which is Donald Trump's book. I don't know if you want to talk about cap and trade, all that stuff. He does have Donald Trump has a whole thing on the media and stuff here too. Are you a Democrat? You're from the Philippines? The Giant. Hey, what's up? Yeah, I am a Democrat for sure. Yeah, I'm sort of center progressive. So there have been in the past Republican candidates I would have voted for. People always think because I'm secular atheist, I'm actually an atheist. So, even though I'm not super dogmatic, but I would have voted for frickin' John Huntsman out of Utah, former Chinese ambassador for George Bush, I believe. If I got that, no, was he? Let's look up John Huntsman real quick, fam. Let's look up John Huntsman here. Yeah, so John Huntsman, who's born in the 60s, he is the 16th governor of Utah, but he was also the U.S. ambassador to Russia under Trump. And then for 2 years, he was the ambassador to China. He speaks Mandarin, right? So Mormon dude, sort of center-right conservative, really smart guy. He was the ambassador to Singapore for a year and a half, early in his political career. So one of these really ambitious, really great guys. I would have voted for him for president, possibly. I would have considered it. But yeah, I think, when you... Oh, wow. Yeah. Stop being a Democratic rat. Yeah. That's crazy. Yeah, that's crazy. It's weird. People have really dogmatic ideas about political parties, but I was just looking up this yesterday. In places like Tunisia, there are Islamic parties that aren't like really strict Islamist parties. You also have groups like the Muslim Brotherhood, which in Egypt, 90% of the time will say, well, this is a repressive. They want a more repressive, far less democratic, far less responsive, deliberative democracy. But it's also probably true that the Muslim Brotherhood in Egypt represents some democratic values for some people, things they'd like to see talked about, but you can't be the party that has you have extremism often and frequently rising up, violent extremism or forms of authoritarian politics offshooting from you. So the Muslim Brotherhood is banned in Egypt, whereas in places like Tunisia and elsewhere, you do have Islamic or Islamic leaning parties, which are just considered democratic parties. Parliamentary systems usually do that stuff a little bit better. The mechanism is like, if we say our society is about technology, it's about being able to build cities and communities and really supporting those communities from the base of American society. You get a two-party system. You might feel constrained sometimes, but go read a book. Mr. Smith Goes to Washington. You're going to find something you like. In other cases, you look around at society and you say, well, we support society, society qua society. We support society competing as a whole on the level of a state while supporting people to be authentic, be themselves, and they themselves can go pursue their goals and dreams in a way that makes sense. In those cases, it's like, well, can you say we don't have an Islamic or a democratic socialist or libertarian party? We don't have those policies represented in our country. It's like, what? Where did that come from? If I want to vote for who I want to vote for, I can vote for them. If they lose, they lose. It's a very optimistic way of looking at it, very common sense way of looking at it. So everyone here loves Trump. Yeah, cool. Yeah. Yeah. So you said the Philippines. So yeah, you guys just got Rodrigo Duerte just got indicted. So that is like one of the things people know about the Philippines in the West. I'm sure it's not the only thing anyone knows about the Philippines in the West. But yeah. So that's cool. Yeah, Donald Trump is he's a firebrand. We've gone through, and I pointed out a couple areas I think he's inconsistent. He's actually not competing or not understanding competition as someone who's actually competitive does. And so that's always interesting to understand. If you're not actually competing with anyone, what are you doing? This isn't competitive, and what are you doing? So in the US, when we think of third parties, just from my perspective, we think of that polling, we think about third parties, we think about, kind of non-line voting candidates in either party. We think about electoral competition. We think about competition on social media and the news about just slightly polling, adjusting, bringing up issues no one else has talked about, building those olive branches, putting in the work to think about a 2-month social media campaign, not a 2-minute social media campaign. So very important, very healthy thing to do is to think about, well, how would healthcare or how would a lower sales tax, how would any of these things that you want actually come to light again? How would these come up? What are your thoughts on Bitcoin? Cryptocurrency and Bitcoin, I don't see it as having fundamental foundational value. It's a digital currency. So as much as we can associate around the digital space, I think Bitcoin's good at doing that. Most people agree, as it turns out. Yeah. One of my old coworkers who actually was from Tunisia, he was a Bitcoin investor. He was a bit of a hacker, bit of a cool dude. Have you read anything by Greg Braden? No, I don't know Greg Braden. We'll see if I know anything about this. Bridging science, spirituality, in the real world. Oh, that's cool. If any of you guys want to watch it, I do have an old live stream. Some of my old live streams are, I know they're not meant for algorithm, but some of them are actually watchable. Some of them are a little bit watchable. I read comments, but we did talk about what is religion. So I don't know Greg Braden, but if I got the right guy who came up, very interesting topic, fascinating topic. When we talk about the paradigms by which we understand science, religion, and the real world, it's like, wow, yeah, how can I make sense of my own experience and the ineffability of some of my experience? How can I make sense of the fact that, like, I see how much gas I put into my car at the end of the day? Are these really different thought processes? Are we living in the same world? That stuff's fascinating. Are you a runner by chance? Yeah, I love running. I would show you some running. I have a lot of running shoes that are ran through my dog. So I love running. Running is a lot of fun. And yeah, I do some liftings of weights. Nothing too crazy though. DJT has done some things the left would love if he wasn't a firebrand, as Doug put it. Having a unifying leader is just as important to be an effective leader. Yeah, very cool. Very cool. Yeah. Yeah. And so, I think Donald Trump is right to call out issues like climate change. I think Donald Trump is right to call out areas where the United States needs to compete. But if from my perspective of leadership, if you can't or you're unwilling, to talk about how people are actually eager to understand some of this stuff, guys, you're not going to have a good time. It's not going to be that fun. I want to talk about crazy Spider-Man changing the weather, rain cloud stuff. I want to talk about, rain nets and desalination. And I want to talk about the United States being a powerhouse for some of this technology, about supporting the other powerhouses who are doing this stuff. Isn't that sick? It's so sick, guys. I want to stomp around a little bit and do that kind of stuff. Maybe I don't always get my way, but, Mr. President, you can't lie to me. You can't tell me I don't know what I don't know. If you decide to come back, Donald Trump, Mr. President, you decide to come back to being a president again, I listen. When you put on that presidential seal, I'm going to listen, but I'm not going to respect the stuff that is opposed and against the ideas that I know are right, that I know are not wrong. I'm not going to gaslight myself out of it. I'm not going to gaslight myself into doing something that I don't want to be able to do or want to have to do. Release the list. Let's go. We've got an entire Epstein account. I hope you're good, bro. Hope you're good. We saw Bernie Sanders today saying, yeah, Mr. President, you said, Donald Trump, you're going to release the list. Bernie Sanders, one of the furthest left, very steady, honest, trustworthy politician, said, yeah, release the list. I have no problem mentioning this because you did yourself, Mr. President. I'll walk you through this if that's what you want. And so I hope you're well. I hope if you find out there is no Epstein list or that available information is just what the investigators found, there's no Mossad conspiracy, no CIA conspiracy. Andrew Bustamante isn't some released foreign agent or released internal U.S. secret agent who is on this case developing leverage on world leaders like Prince Andrew. It could just be the case that, like Maria Farmer said, once again, she said, I had a bad feeling about the way this guy talked to some of these people, including Donald Trump, but I don't know anything. I know what I know. I know what I experienced. I know what I saw, felt, and what happened. Very sad, and also hopefully redeeming to hear those victim stories in some sense, but it's not redeeming to say that there's got to be more to the story when there isn't. We got to get it right, folks. We have to commit that we have to get it right. That's all I can say. Eric the Great has a great point. If any of you guys have a wrestling room in your home, or if you don't have a wrestling room, maybe it's cold, you live in Siberia, you live in Northern Europe, you could build a great big Bitcoin mining facility Get a ton of GPUs and stuff spun up. So way to make money by making money. Way to make money by making money for sure. Yeah, this big, whatever. You need the right tool for the job, not always the hammer. Let's go. Yeah, if you're handier than I am, you would know more about tools than me as well. Yeah, you're in a toxic relationship with your narcissistic government, both Republican and Democrat, that thrives on generational dysfunction. I'm sorry to hear that. Yeah, sorry to hear that. Yep. We were talking about a just government. So if you have ideas about justice, that's how I understand it. If that's not getting to you, feel free to say it. Duck life. Yeah, duck life, bro. No, man. I always said that if you're not a mallard, then you can't sing a ballad, bro. I've been saying that since I was at least like 17, 18 years old, young adulthood. Yeah, I bring up ducks all the time, man. Duck life, dude. Slick Rick. It could be like Slick Rick Red Rum because that's how savage that is to say duck life, guys. Smash like and subscribe. All you got to do is tap the top of your screen. That's like a mallard ballad right there, dude. No offense, man. That's called balance, dude. Someone was talking about Reiki. Duck life is Reiki, dude. Oh, man. No offense, though. No offense. Rex Boy. Rest in peace, Ozzy Osbourne. Yeah. I wish I had better Ozzy stories. I went to one Ozfest. I did see, if anyone here is a fan of Tim Pool, I did see Phil That Remains at that Ozfest. So Ozzy Osbourne, huge influence on the metal scene. I haven't seen the actual story yet. I was going to look it up after I stream if I remember. I'm sure it would come up in my algorithm, but yeah. I remember the reality show he had was a huge deal for millennials like myself. Even us that didn't watch, maybe we watched Survivor or like, Who Wants to Be a Millionaire, some of these new age game shows, Survivor, that kind of stuff. But yeah, those shows were a big deal. Very cool. So do I believe Epstein is dead? Yeah. Yeah, I do. Yeah. Yeah. He did a lot of horrible stuff and he's dead. Those are the facts that were presented to me. And so those are the facts that I can know. Marcos seemed like a tool giant. Thoughts? Kazakhstan. Yeah, Kazakhstan's got a lot of uranium and stuff, dude. Kazakhstan's got a lot of trade partners all over the world. It's in that sort of, people say it's like a really critical trade zone and stuff like this. That sort of language, I'm sure there's like a game theoretic reason why not just Kazakhstan, but a lot of nations sort of see their own trade priorities, their own economic patterns as taking priority. That is competitive for sure. It's 100% competitive. All my non-normies like me, or all my normies like me, it's also one of those things that's constraining. So I'll just share that with you guys a little bit. Guys. It's 2025, folks. Level your game up a little bit. Level your shit up. All right. Did I mess that up? I don't think so. All right. Based. Let's go. All right. My name's Nathan Swift. I go by Duck. I don't actually talk like this. Stolen Valor. All right. Let's go. Dude, check VJ's shoes for running or Innovate. Innovate's made some cool shoes. I love online shopping. I don't like buying, but I do like online shopping quite a bit. The coolest ones, I'll show you these real quick, guys. Don't go anywhere. I'll be right back. Oh my God. So, I'll show you the stupid shoes. Okay, so these are the practical shoes, guys. These are the dailies. Can I get my foot up? Yeah, very boring. A little nasty, right? You guys can listen to runner hobbyist stuff, but I love my shoes. I love whatever. Yeah, I like having footwear that I can put on. I used to love shoes. Now I love having footwear I can put on, whatever. But anyways, these are a Kenyan brand of shoe called Endas. Very cool green color. You can see I've worn them a little bit, not all that much. They've got a lot of life left, but Got the racers. These are the Nike waffles. These are like a streak fly or Flyknit style, whatever. They're like a waffle shoe. So very thin, very responsive. So if you have elasticity in your muscles and all that kind of stuff, not that big of a deal, actually, as it turns out. You don't have to develop a lot of elasticity, but yeah, very responsive shoe. These are the Eliud Kipchoge marathon shoes. Got the cool Nike racing thing on the back. So just for my shoe fans. And then, whoops, I'm breaking everything while I'm doing this. I'm figuring it out though. And then these are my dailies. I got these used for $10 at Goodwill, so I'm very excited about that. But these are just boosts, ultra boosts. Yeah, my honest opinion is I'm excited to keep running in these shoes, get to know them a little bit more. I'm excited about running in these shoes. They got the Continental thick sole. These are a little thicker. When you run a lot, you don't usually want a ton of cushioning. You want that natural barefoot with the correct pelvic tilt sort of running style and elasticity and all of it working together. But yeah, very durable shoe. Those are a very durable sneaker. So you like Ultra brand? Yeah, hell yeah, Cat. I've got 2 pair of Ultra. I've got a pair of racers. I've got the Escalante racer and Lone Peak, like a hiking running shoe, like one of those trail to road shoes. They last like 500 miles. So I think I've gotten about 1,000, 1,200 miles on my Lone Peaks. So those are very cool. But yeah, wide toe boxes and all that snuff, all the snuff, man. No, I don't race, bro. I just I blow mad clouds, and yeah, it's fun to do like fartlicks and stuff. Yeah, I do like fartlicks and stuff like that. And yeah, yeah, yeah. Ultras do have nice Spartan race. Do you guys? Yeah, we do have a couple of those outdoor races. Arizona has. I'm in Arizona, Southwest U.S., but we've got Arizona is a big ass state. We've got lakes, we've got mountains, we've got we've got north country, so we've got like forests and we've got a lot of desert, a lot of hot. So you've got all kinds of those outdoor adventure races and stuff. I don't know about Spartan race specifically, but for sure, like, if you like outdoors, Arizona is a good place to be and compete. There's also some bicycling. We've got the Tour Tucson and stuff like that. All kinds of cool stuff. I bet Kat adventure. I bet Kat would be a good endurance athlete. I don't know why. I see her as being disciplined and dedicated into a thing. I don't know if I'm superimposing my values for other people on Kat about this, but like truly, I would see Kat as being a world-class athlete if she wanted to be. I mean that. I really mean it. So, yeah. Yeah. But, yeah. So, yeah. I don't know if you guys want to hang out for a little bit longer, how you guys are feeling and doing tonight. I don't have any strict plans. I also don't want to, that's all I wanted to do was read a couple chapters, passages from this book. I think we did. It was fun for me. I had fun. I hope you guys had fun. But I'm happy to keep hanging out, keep talking, running and stuff. I'd rather talk running from my garage because I can take my shirt off and you guys can talk. I'll tell you what, folks. Sorry, my fucking mic again, guys. You should do a podcast. Yeah. Ryan Hall's got to this is my default chat GPT, Duck GPT is, Ryan Hall is the former US marathon record holder. He's got a great podcast. His wife, Sarah Hall, is also an amazing athlete. So they're pretty cool. I watched a little bit of, I forgot all their names, but a bunch of those the Oregon runners that did Olympics and stuff. Ali Ostrander. I watched the Athlete Special a little bit back in the day. Oh, you were a collegiate athlete? Oh shit, yeah. That happens, my friend. Yeah, crazy. Kat, we can talk about it. We should talk about it sometime, I think. We can talk about it now, Kat, but we can talk about it sometime or something. Thanks for the F Shack. Love Dirty Mike and the boys. Yeah, cool. Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. So, yeah, but setting goal attainment, goal progression, how you measure goal progression, and being able to balance recovery. The lowest common denominator, and you can say I'm being kind of a wimp or a weakling, for me is passive recovery. It's allowing your body, your natural metabolism and broken down protein from muscle fibers to help you recover. You're not going to put on a ton of mass that way. You might want to be a little careful, but instead of saying I need to stay 110% fueled and all this other stuff, whatever it is, let your body recover a little bit naturally. And in terms of not fucking up that plan, yeah, who knows if you can get some really hard, consistent work in, and then also while being mindful of what your body needs to stay healthy and needs to recover. You can always go up. You can't go down once you went up. So, maybe this is runner logic or not even runner logic, but yeah. Did you read the entire book? No. Yeah, I would like to get to know our president. I'd love to get to know Donald Trump. But the sort of disrespect of saying, from my perspective, that I'm going to go out and be president, but I lie about what you learned in college. I lie about what you've seen in the world. I lie about how I'm going to be lie or be wrong about how you interpret events, and I'm still going to sit here and tell you that this is how I'm going to be president. So like I said, I have respect for the office of the president. I have respect for POTUS. I have respect for Donald Trump in those regards. I have respect for him being ambitious and stuff like that. I don't have respect for the things he does and the way he says it. So, yeah, Giant, good call. Yeah, recovery and not overtraining is another great way of saying it. Recovery and not overtraining. One of the things that to me that collapses down to is realizing that small changes can have big effects. Small changes in either diet or exercise routine. So yeah, doing something like if you're a runner, and I've got sweaty armpits, but if you can just hold a posture without being too crazy, just a little yoga pose, and I look horrible right now, but yeah, just walk like this. You can just walk like this for a couple feet. Do it for 5 seconds. Do it for 10 seconds. Not a big deal. And then just relax, If that kind of stuff inspires you to work out harder or whatever, and what makes you think anyone, I don't care, Jerry. I wouldn't actually think that someone has to respect what I respect, but yeah. We all live with the results we get at some point is one way of responding to that. The other is, Jerry brings up a great point as well that, maybe it is the case that people should, work with a trainer, get that one-to-one advice, and also trust their body, learn to trust their body. Jerry, learn to work one-on-one with folks. I believe in you. I believe in you, young man. I believe in you for sure. Yeah. And of course, it is so important. It is so important that you have learned respect from your father. It is so important that you have learned respect, and you are now speaking to me like this. Is this right? Yeah, dude. I run an Ultra Boost. Right? These shoes are sick. Gnarly, man. I don't give a fudge. No, I do. I care a lot. You know, when you bite off a lot too, this is one of the things. Someone was talking to me about Sam Sulek the other day. That guy has a crazy physique. He had a great first bodybuilding show. Just for whoever hears in that sort of Greg Doucette space, you know, the Dr. Mike Israetel space, more plates, more dates space, these big guys, you know, yeah, if you get all of your goals, you get all your information from people that are 10 stages out, and you're not respecting that someone that looks like you, talks like you, acts like you, performs like you can have a conversation with you and help you out as well. You know, yeah, it's like that's just how bodies work at the end of the day. Tricolor says thinking about your mom motivates me. Yeah, it's good. It's very good. Very good. Very nice, folks. Yeah. The other thing is cooking and like, you know, whatever. I have weird, these are total duck lessons, but like total me, like, but like having a little bit of dried fruit trail mix with some of those really yummy, like antioxidant blueberries, strawberries, that stuff's good. It's also so calorically dense. My body packs on fat, packs on energy. If I'm not doing those, you know, 4-hour workouts or 3-hour workouts, like really functional, like real SEAL shit, right? Getting my frogman on, you know, stolen valor SEAL workout. Let's go. Let's go. Let me just destroy everything that I ever thought was sacred and holy and valuable. Let's just work on that right now. For that reason, folks. For that reason. For the reason of something. You know? Bunch of crap. Hey, what's up? That's a crazy username. I don't know if that is a different language or something. I can't say that, but you said, I'm just kidding. Hello, hello, hello. Well, that's mature. Lover of the light. Hey, good to see you. I hope so. I hope so. Oh, is that to homeboy talking about my mama? Oh, my mama loves me, so she ain't even my mom that much. Yeah, you know, when you get, so here is the lesson. Here is the lesson of the day. This is what I learned from buying from Enda, buying from a Kenyan shoe company, supporting the global running community, really trusting crazy athletes all over the world. I learned that when you're able to accept small lessons, you take that big responsibility out of your brain, out of your big muscle groups, out of your stress, you know, all these baggages, right? When you take it away, that I can do 5 push-ups because I want to bench 315 pounds. And you can actually just go do your 5 push-ups. You can actually just have your 2 ounces of nuts. You can, you know, make whatever. You can buy 1% better at the grocery store. You guys can all do the things you want to achieve. You know, you have a reason for doing it. You take all of those big stresses away. You know, there's not Greta Thunberg. It's not Duck the vegan anymore. It's not Duck the runner. It is just you in that moment. And then you can actually check if that goal is right. You know, it doesn't matter what mom and dad taught you at that point. Doesn't matter anything, right? This is like, you know, Marx called this praxis. I'm not a Marxist at all, like at all. I was just arguing about Marx on Reddit yesterday, folks. That's how anti-Marxist I am. That's how liberal I am. I love Marx's philosophy. He's a fascinating guy, but yeah, taking away those small things takes away the fascism in your fitness routine, takes away the fascism and authoritarianism. You have to be Christian, you have to be Orthodox, you have to be Roman Catholic, you have to be Islamic, or you have to be Jewish. You have to be these things to be a good American, to be a good whatever it is, a good Filipino, you know, a good whatever. Take those things away, right? You don't need to bench 315. I used to have a 12, 13, 1400 pound total, whatever it was. I used to lift a lot more weights than I did now. I weighed like 200 some pounds. I weighed about 190 when I was strong. Wasn't great. It wasn't pretty, but you take that stuff away and you realize, well, oh, this is actually how I'm happy or whatever. Alicia Marie is here. What's up? Yeah, maybe it's the beard, my voice, the sound of my voice. I don't know. Who knows? I don't know that everyone believes I hold conservative values. Maybe it's because I am a little bit conservative. I couldn't say. Yeah. Olympia. Let's go. Let's go, fam. Let's go. All right. You guys like that? Can you guys expand like a big cat? I'm like a spotted leopard. I got a tiger on my shirt. I got a tiger on my shirt. You guys want to see those shoulders, boulder shoulders? What do you guys think? What do you guys think? What's actually real? What's up? How's everybody doing tonight? All right. My name's Nathan Swift. I reckon I'm the sexiest runner west of the Mississippi. I don't reckon much that I'm sexy, but when I'm talking about my running, boy, I'm smooth. I'll tell you what. Fast is smooth and smooth is fast, folks. Strong is smooth and smooth is strong, folks. We get up to get up. We get up to stay up, folks. And when I'm tired, when I go down for the night, I ain't up anymore, but I'm going to be tomorrow. Y'all already know I plan 5 minutes at a time, and then I plan 2 hours at a time. That don't mean a gosh darn thing. See, you can't have it all. You can't be as sexy as I am and also be smart. You can't also be a good trainer. You can't have good intelligence. You can't even know anything about physiology when you're this handsome. You just go out and do. Plain and simple, you just do. That's always been true. Y'all know it is. Matouche Payne. Hey, Mike Oxlong. I don't know who Mike Oxlong is, but what's up? Good to see you. Favorite race car? I was just telling one of my friends online, Grid. He's a big car guy. I like the old Porsche 928s with the V8. German engineering, sort of that American muscle style car. I'm not a big car guy, but yeah. Porsche 928 was a cool car. When I was a kid, we would go to the grocery store and you would have you could find like exotic car or lifted four-wheel truck magazines just free. Like they were classified ads. So I would read classifieds when I was a kid. Yeah, who knows? Early signs of neurodivergence and autism or something. But yeah, I'd pick up a magazine and you could read all about the trucks. They'd tell you what kind of lifts they had, the size of the tires, if they had any engine or exhaust upgrades, anything on the drivetrain different. So it was a lot of fun. Mike Oxlong. I don't know who Mike. I get it. I see you. I still don't know who Mike Oxlong is, but yeah. Absolutely splendid, folks. Absolutely. Absolutely. I don't believe it. I don't believe it, folks. This is one thing is like if we're talking about becoming a mindful political participant, a mindful athlete, one thing can change everything. We know this, right? And this is why we don't social engineer on ourselves. We don't self-gaslight. We don't self-program ourselves. In fact, people I respect like Ted Rall and John Kiriakou, a former journalist, political cartoonist, author, alongside a former CIA officer. They have a show called The Deprogram Show. And so this is right, because we ask people on the internet, the ethical thing to do is to ask people what they think. The ethical thing to do is to tell people what they do, what they think, how they do it. The ethical thing is to tell people where they'll be, right? No, that's completely opposite. That's the wrong thing to do. So it is my belief that at the end of the day, have a little confidence in the things you want to do and you want to say when you're really passionate about it, when you really believe in it, when it's running or something or athletic training. If you're one of the lucky ones, you got time to go do this stuff. You're one of the lucky ones. You can leverage these small, non-earth shattering changes into a workout routine, right? I used to be 235 pounds. I'm not like a success story. I don't want to be your role model, your example for any of this kind of crap. But all I would say is that, yeah, it's more, it's less wrong or it's more right about the world when even our small sort of types of working on things are our mode of producing nonlinear results. They come from these small things always. I don't know what that means. I'm sorry. Peepaw Tench. Hey, what's up? Good to see you. Hello. I'm Duck. I go by Duck. My name's Nate Swift. Yeah, good to see everyone. This is fun. Maybe usually on these streams, maybe we can try and do more sort of whatever. I like doing fitness, motivation, inspiration streams. Who knows? Yeah, whatever. I'm open to it, but it's also nice. I think I'm going to close the stream out pretty soon. If you guys want, we do a lot of politics on philosophy. Please tap the like button on this stream if you want to subscribe. It'd be great to see you back here. You can always unsubscribe. If you like these types of engaging mobile format streams or want to do panels or something at some point, hit a notification bell. That helps me, helps you. And then if it's not you don't like, it's not fun. Yeah. Thanks, Eric the Great. You. Oops, I hit my mic again. Thanks, Kat. Yeah, thanks. And yeah, there is all my last self plug for you guys is I do have a video about saving the public broadcasting system that just launched today on my channel. Check it out. I read a letter from Senator Ruben Gallego that he wrote to me after I wrote him. So yeah, check that stream out. It's 8 minutes. If you're interested in politics and how policy issues actually shape up in Washington and on the local level, I'd love to hear your thoughts. Tell me I'm an idiot. Tell me I don't know anything, and I'll see y'all later. Yeah, thanks. And yeah, good to see you. Maybe we'll do the other half of this book or the other 3/4 of this book on more live streams or whatever. I don't know. I'm going to go. You're slow, G. Slow your. Yeah. I don't know what I'm going to say. Have a good day. Take care. All right. Goodbye. 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 Ending soon. We're ending right now. That's the stream, folks.